Hello, welcome to Hood Made. I'm Kim Hood, and in today's video, we are going to be doing some upcycling using some spindles from old tables and chairs. So let me get a little sip of my coffee. And if you don't have some coffee of your own or a nice cozy drink, then go ahead and do that because this is going to be a lot of fun. Now, with respect to the spindles, so this is going to be one of the spindles. This is actually from a chair leg. This particular spindle is from the back of the chair, the sides. And then this mammoth thing is from the table itself. Now, where do these come from? Well, my mom and dad have been redoing their home, and this particular table is the table I grew up with. So it is vintage. It was probably antique, not in terrible repair, but in enough of a need to remove it and replace it with something else. With that said, my daddy took it apart and brought me um, brought me some of the spindles from that table. So in today's video, we're going to upcycle this into 4 different projects for the holidays, actually. So we're going to make some Christmas decor out of these spindles from my childhood table. So stay tuned as we move through these upcycles. Upcycle 1, we're going to do some spindles and some light globes. This is the top of the spindle I'm going to use, and I've cut it into these parts. Now first I need to remove the stickers from the globes I'm going to be using. And I'm going to use my heat gun to heat up this sticker. And then you'll see to the side there I have a scraping device. It's by a company called Work Pro, and I ordered it from Amazon. And they have plastic scrapers. They're kind of sharp, but they don't scratch the surface like the metal ones do. So when I'm removing stickers off of items, I'll typically use this to protect the integrity of the surface I'm going to be using. If you don't have a heat gun, you can use a hair dryer. It'll do this too. Now, once I remove these stickers, I will clean my globes. I use my own cleaning solution. It is made with a 1/2 cup of alcohol, 2 tablespoons of Meyer's, M-E-Y-E-R-S cleaning solution, the lemon scented one, and then I will fill it up the rest of the way with just some regular tap water. And that's my solution. And actually, I think I said a 1/2 cup. It's a cup. I use a whole cup of alcohol. I apologize. And I put it in that spray bottle, and I just fill the rest of the spray bottle up with warm water afterwards. Makes good floor cleaner too if you have hardwoods. Now these are 3 rounds that I'm going to use, and those are the cut up spindles. And this little piece came apart and I need it for the support of the structure I'm going to build, so I am using some wood glue to put that back in place. Now I'm going to take that 2-inch wood round and I'm going to glue it to the top of the globe with some E6000. And you'll see I'm leaving a space in between the areas of the E6000 because I will use my glue gun, a little hot glue, to put in the spaces between the E6000, so that will hold the wood round in place while the E6000 dries over time. And I had a little excess glue ooze out, so I'll just use my tissue here to wipe it back. Now the 3 items you see to the left, those spindle parts, I'm going to be placing on the top of these wood rounds. And of course, the rounded spindle portion will be at the very top of these when I have them stacked up like a Christmas tree. So I'm using some wood glue to fix the cut spindle pieces to the top of the wood rounds. Put the wood glue on the outside with some hot glue on the inside for immediate hold. And I place that right in the middle. And again, this is going to be my topper. Now, I'm going to show you this just because I tried it and it didn't work. So if you recreate this, don't do it. I put the wood rounds on the inside. They were supposed to be used as a support when I stacked these on top of each other. But this does not work out well because I didn't get them straight. So I later had to remove them and go a different route, and I'll show you that in a moment. Idea was good, execution not so much. Now this is after I removed it, and what I decided to do was take these little wooden blocks and put them on the underside of that 2-inch wood round that I have on the top. And so what this is going to do is it's going to allow for a base that I can use to stack these globes on top of each other, and it will keep the globes spaced enough so that it does look like a Christmas tree once it's stacked. After I glue them with the wood glue, I'm just putting a lot of hot glue around it to kind of hold them into place. And I got a little bit of glue on the top of one of them, and I didn't want that to dry because of course it would make everything cattywampus, which is what I don't want to have happen. And you can see here I've already put some Rub and Buff gold along the edges of these globes just to kind of help delineate the globe so that it looks more tiered when I stack them on top of each other. Now I will show you where I do that later on in this video, but I didn't want you to say, oh, well, why is that gold rim there when it wasn't there before? And I'm just filling these up with the hot glue. Now we're going to mix up some milk paint. This is called Flour Sack by Sweet Pickins milk paint, and this is Flour Sack. You take 2 tablespoons of it, and then you're going to do 2 tablespoons of water. So however many tablespoons of the paint you use is how much water you're going to use. And then I'm going to take that little whisk there that I thrifted from the Goodwill bins. How perfect is it to mix up my milk paint? And I'm going to mix it up really good. And then once I have it mixed well, I will let it sit to the side for a few minutes and thicken. Now, as you use milk paint, it will continue to thicken during the painting process. So I'll take my water sprayer, my spray bottle, and put a few sprays in and mix it up to keep it a little bit looser so that it doesn't get too thick. And I've placed my large wooden spindle. Now I've cut it down, of course, to what I wanted it to look like with my saw. I used a chop saw, and I'm just going to be painting this milk paint on. I had to clean something off of my Lazy Susan that I also thrifted at the Goodwill bins. And so this is the first coat, and I'm also going to paint the topper with the milk paint. Now let me just say, you will notice that when I started, it already looked like it had some paint on it. And I painted this originally without prepping my surface. I didn't sand it, I didn't put a bonder on it or any kind of primer, and that was stupid. I knew better, and it came right on off. So I had to sand it, and then once I did that, I put shellac on it, a spray shellac, and then once that dried, I brought it back into the house to apply the milk paint one more time again. Now as this dries, it'll do a couple things. It will crack, and you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can see sort of where, yep, see there's the cracks. It'll start to crack and do that crackle effect, so it looks like it's aged wood. Sometimes it will even peel. Now here I'm going to take some antiquing wax by DIY. This is just the dark wax, and you'll see I put it on and I realized, oh, that's too dark. I don't want that. So I've got this clear wax from Waverly, and I'm going to go over the entire surface with this clear wax. And what this will do is it'll prevent it from being too dark. Of course, I'll wipe off any excess. And now I'm going to put the dark on, but it will wipe back a little bit easier. And if it gets a little too dark, I can then use the clear wax to go back in and kind of use it as an eraser. And you'll see me do that in a bit. Now this is where I'm kind of using it as an eraser because the sides were a little darker than I wanted them to be. So I'm putting that clear wax on and wiping it back, and you'll see that you may not be able to see it, but it does look lighter. And you'll also notice on some of the sides, it looks like some of the paint has chipped off. That's what milk paint will do. It'll get a little chippy too. So you can see some of the original wood under it. I'm just wiping that back with a shop towel. This is where I'm applying the rub and buff on the edges of the globes all the way around. I love rub and buff. You can get it from Amazon. I bought this stuff a year and a half ago. So when you see the price, it's a little high, but y'all, it lasts forever. And I use this stuff all the time. I'm also going to take the rub and buff and put it on the topper. And then I will use my shop rag to wipe it back. And so what will happen is some of the white will come through, and so you'll have this nice little crackle surface with the white and the gold. It's really pretty. Now I'm going to begin to start stacking these globes, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. And I need to put a piece of the spindle. I had a fourth piece actually that I wasn't using. I'm going to use that as the base for my globe to sit on, and I'm going to sand it a little bit because there was a little bit of a lip from where I cut it that I didn't get cleaned off well. So I sanded that down. I'm going to put my wood glue and my hot glue and put that on the top of my base here. And then I'm going to use wood glue and hot glue and put the first globe on and do that all the way up. Rinse and repeat. until I have the top one on, and the top is on, and this is what it looks like. Y'all, I think it turned out really cute. Now, of course, I want to embellish it with a pretty little red velvet ribbon. For the upcycle number 2, using spindles and some paint, and I'm going to make some snowmen first and also some angels. Now, just showing you the spindles before I cut them, and then I'll show you after I cut them. These are what I'm going to use for snowmen. On the other side are going to be what I use for my angels. So I'm going to paint them white. I'm going to use fusion paint because it does have a primer built in, so I don't have to sand these little buggers. They are, you know, they're hard to sand, so using something with a built-in primer is going to be really helpful. And I'm going to paint both my snowmen and my angels the same color. Just makes it easier. I believe this color is called Linen White by Fusion. It's not quite white, it's a little a touch of off-white. I wanted something to look slightly aged, not too much, but slightly. And you'll notice earlier I put those two pieces together. Those were two separate pieces. And I just glued them with a little hot glue and some wood glue. Now, this is a cork. I was gifted a bag of corks from a friend, and I'm using my Cricut X-Acto knife to cut them in half to make the top of my snowman hat. And those are those 2-inch wood rounds I used in the previous project. I'm going to glue 3 of them together with my wood glue and clamp them. Now I'm going to make Miss Frosty a dress. Actually, it's kind of like an apron. So I'll put my hot glue on, fix this wide ribbon, and go all the way around Miss Frosty. Cut that off, fold it over, and glue that down. And then I will make the front of the apron out of a small square piece. I'm going to use the edge of the ribbon, keep that trim on so that that edge looks finished. I thought maybe I might could stick it down inside, but it was too tight, so I just had to cut it off and cleverly make sure that it was positioned such that it looked like it was attached. And then I'm going to cut that ribbon, the edge of it off, to make the part that goes around the neck. And I'll glue that in place with my glue gun. Using that silicone stick to help out because that Ryobi glue, it's hot. That's like lava, y'all. Okay, now my wood rounds have dried, and I'm going to put some caulk around the edge so that you can't see that it's 3 parts. So this will make it look like a solid piece. Wipe back any excess. And I don't have to let it dry for too long. I can go ahead and start painting it afterwards. I'm going to glue the cork in the center, and then I'm going to paint it this cast iron black by Fusion. Again, Fusion has the built-in primer and sealer. I'm going to use my heat gun to dry so that I can just keep the project going. All right, now I'm going to put a nice little gold piece of trim around the edge of Frosty's hat. And I'm going to get some florals in a minute and cut some sprigs off to make a cute little holiday floral design on Frosty's hat. And I did put the design over where the edge of the gold ribbon came together. And I'm going to use some ribbon here to make Frosty's scarf. I'm going to tie this like you would tie a man's necktie. It lays flat that way when you do it. And then of course I'll dovetail the edges of it. I'll use some glue to put the hat on. That was wood glue and hot glue. And now I have them done. I want to put some hair on Miss Frosty. So I'm going to use some Spanish moss and some hot glue to glue the hair on. And as I'm doing this, I'm not quite sure how I want her hair to look. And as I keep putting more Spanish moss on, it begins to kind of organically take the shape of a messy bun. So I went with it. I thought, let me get a little ribbon and put it around the messy bun. And then I'm going to make a sweet little bow to go on the front of the messy bun. And this is just some red velvet ribbon. This is just a simple Kathy Jo bow. I'm going to glue that to the front. I liked how it hung down, but y'all, when I was dovetailing it, I dovetailed it in the wrong direction. So I had to trim it off a little bit more so it matched on each side after the correction. It still worked out fine. And then I wanted to leave some sprigs hanging down on the side. Now I'm going to start their faces, and when I started Mr. Frosty, I put those eyeballs in the wrong place, so I had to paint over them. I'm just going to let him sit and dry for a little bit, and I'll go ahead and work on Ms. Frosty's face. Using my little paint pens. These paint pens are really good. They will paint on glass, metal, wood, anything. And then I'm going to touch up some areas that kind of got out of place. And then I was looking at Miss Frosty and I thought, she needs something else. Let's make a pearl necklace. So these beads are actually from a barrette that my daughter wore when she was a little girl. So not only will I have the pearls from this barrette that belonged to my daughter as a child, the spindles are childhood table parts. So this is a special piece of decor that will be in my home for years to come. Here's the second part of this upcycle. We're making the angels, and I'm going to use some filler here to go around the edge where these two pieces were put together, that you could just kind of see where it was put together. I didn't like it, so I filled that in, and I'm going to use some rub and buff to put some gold on the top of the first one, around the neck of the second one, and then around the waist of the third one. And you'll see me do that. And I could have filled in the holes with something, but I decided I wanted to leave them where it's obvious this belonged to something else. You could fill it in with spackling compound or some sort of like wood filler or Bondo, but I left mine open. Now I just used this jute spool as a form to make some halos out of these pip berries. I'm going to glue them on the top of the heads of two of my angels. Of course, the third one has a gold crown already, doesn't need a halo. And now I'm going to make some wings using some burlap ribbon. I got this, I believe, from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to make essentially a bow. Pinch it together in the middle, tie it with some jute, fluff it a bit, and then glue it to the back of my angel. I'm going to do this for all 3 of them. Of course, making the wings smaller for each of the angels because each angel gets smaller as I go. This ribbon does have some wire in it, so it makes it where it'll bend up a little bit, so you get kind of the curve of the wing, so it's not just straight across. Now I'm going to add some decoration around the necks of each angel, and this is just some twine that you can use for crochet, and I wrap it around the neck 3 times, and then I'm going to tie it in a knot in the front here. And once I have all 3 of them with the twine around the necks, I'm going to add some little beads. And on the first one, these are kind of a golden citrine bead color, and then I'll tie a knot at the end and put some glue on the tip so that that bottom bead will have it sort of on the inside so that it just kind of holds the beads in place. And the way I'll fix this is it'll be a little bit off, like asymmetrical. One part's going to be a little bit higher than the other. When you see it from the front, you'll see what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to put a star in the center where the knot was tied. I was going to do ribbon buff on the star, but then I liked the natural wood look, so I left it. And for this one, I'm going to thread my needle and put on some of those same little beads that I used on Miss Snowman for they came from my daughter's barrette when she was a little girl, and I'll put a star there. It's a little bit of a smaller star, and I'm going to do the same thing with the small angel, but I used gold beads instead. And here they are. I'm just kind of playing around with how they would be best lined up. And for this last upcycle, I'll use the large wood spindle from the table leg and a wood round. I'm going to take my Sweet Pickins milk paint. I'm going to mix up basil and flour sack. I'm going to do a tablespoon of each with 2 tablespoons of water. And I'm going to paint this green. I used the flour sack because I didn't want it to be as dark green as what basil is. With respect to milk paint, there's a bit of a learning curve. It was not my original favorite to ever use. Again, this was sanded and primed with some spray shellac. I have this wood round. I believe it belonged to the bottom of like a paper towel holder. It had a spindle that actually came up the top. And I'm going to paint it green too, and use my heat gun to dry in between the coats. Now when you use a heat gun, this will begin to allow for the crackle to form a little bit faster. When it dries by itself, it'll crackle, but it seems to me that the heat gun really speeds that up or makes it a little bit more pronounced. But again, you know, learning to use milk paint, again, a learning curve. I learned a lot from a creator on YouTube called Ginger Chick Rehab. It's a good channel. Check it out if you want to learn about milk paint. This will be my second coat. And again, just using my heat gun to allow for the crackle, and then I'm going to do the sides and the top of this too. and apply the second coat. Usually the second coat's where you get most of your crackle. Sometimes the chippiness will happen. I didn't get a lot of chippiness on this, which I was fine with. I just really wanted the crackle to make it look like an aged piece. I'm just using a brush to lighten up the parts that kind of ran underneath. I took it outside and I sanded it down. I always sand my milk paint, and I forgot to tell you that with the very first project. I did sand that one too. And I'm going to use the dark wax to age it. I didn't put a clear coat on this one like I did the first one in this series, or in this video I should say. I wanted it to be a darker green, so I let it age. Wipe back the excess. These are just some shop towels I get from Lowe's. I'll do the round. Now this round does have like a screw in the middle of it. Again, it was from where a spindle screwed into the bottom so that it would make a paper towel holder. And you'll see that I'm going to make a circle here on the bottom. There's the center there, and I'm just basically outlining that because I want to guide to where the center is, so that when I put my spindle on the wood round, I've got it centered well. And I used wood glue and hot glue. Now, this can be used as a riser. This can be used as one of those chunky candle holders. And I'm going to put the wax on the underneath side too. So the thing about milk paint, not only do you need a primer a lot of times and to make sure you sand your objects, but you want to seal it at the end. And then I'm going to put a white and gold cord in a bow, and I have these little wooden snowflakes. They were on a piece of kind of garland. Cut them off, and I'm going to put them on the end of the bow. Now this piece can be used for any time. The bow just makes it where it's more Christmas, but I can take that bow off and use it at any time of the year. And I'm just going to put glue on the ends so that it doesn't unravel and also stays in place. Put a little glue in the center there, so again that it would just not untie. Now here are the finished projects. You can see the aging and the crackling there. When I sanded, I did distress it a bit to see some of the underneath wood. There are the angels. I decided not to do faces on the angels. I thought they were perfect just the way they were. And then my Christmas tree. And again, you can see a close-up of the cracking and the aging. Y'all, thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the projects. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I really do appreciate the comments. I've read them. I always respond. And I appreciate anybody who takes time out of their busy day to view what I do. Thanks so much. See y'all next time.